Then he goes back to the hadith and translates it as follows.
Let us read first what the hadith is saying. This woman, her name Khawla bint Hakim, she gave herself to the Prophet to bang her. She wanted him to do the F word to her. Okay? So she came to him and she said to him, Prophet, can you bang me?
Let's check whether he translated it right or whether he lied again. Here is the official website of the University of Southern California. Please open the main page. This website has the text of Islam, the Quran and the Hadith. This is not my website. This is not an Islamic website. This is the official website of the University of Southern California. www.usc.edu. Then please come here and write and type Muslim text, then press enter. Then come to compendium of Muslim texts. Then go to Sunnah, which means Hadith. Then go to a collection of the Hadith of Sahih Bukhari. Then go to the book number 62, Wedlock Marriage. And finally go to the Hadith number 48, and let's read it. Khawla bint Hakim was one of those ladies who presented themselves to the Prophet for marriage. Great liar. Again, we caught you lying here. This woman never said to the Prophet, can you have sex with me? She came to offer herself to the Prophet for marriage. This shows how chaste she was, because when she loved a man, she didn't wish for an illegal relation with him. She wished for a clean relation of marriage. Why then does this Christian pagan say that this woman came to offer herself to the Prophet for sex? I believe that's really a great shame that some people call themselves nowadays followers of Jesus Christ. I don't believe that these are the manners of Jesus Christ. Is lying from the manners of Jesus Christ. But do you know why he uses the Arabic texts? Isn't it strange? Doesn't he know that there are so many websites where he can find the hadith in English? How come he uses the Arabic text and he speaks English? As if he himself should translate. The answer is very simple. If he uses the English texts, whom can he deceive, and the English texts do not fit his translations, or they don't fit his lies? Now we continue with another episode of the lies of this cancer.
And in here you will see Aisha, she is saying, isn't it like, don't those women have a shame to give their body to a stranger? Let us go to Google Translation and see the translation of Google.
Excuse me? You said the translation of Google? Yes, sure, we all know that the translation of Google is perfect. Google knows all the grammar of such a rich and complicated language like Arabic. Hey clown, do you really want to make fun of people? Do you really think that the listeners are fools, just like you? Now, did really Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, say that? I think the listeners already guessed the answer. Let's read the hadith that we just saw in the official website of the University of Southern California. Book 62, Hadith 48. Khawla bint Hakim was one of those ladies who presented themselves to the Prophet for marriage. Aisha said, doesn't a lady feel ashamed for presenting herself to a man? Which means for presenting herself to a man for marriage. Because in the beginning of the hadith we read, Khawla bint Hakim was one of those ladies who presented themselves to the Prophet for marriage. Thus, Aisha said, doesn't a lady feel ashamed for presenting herself to a man for marriage? So Aisha never said, doesn't a lady feel ashamed for giving her body to a stranger? So again, this is another lie of the Trinitarian cross worshipper, and even in the translation of Google we don't see the word body.
Now, the problem is not here. The problem is, who is Khawla? The woman she gave herself to Muhammad is the aunt of the Prophet of Islam.
Not true, this is another lie. Khawla isn't the aunt of the Prophet of Islam. The answer is very simple. In Islam we don't believe that the passage that said that Khawla was the aunt, we don't believe that this passage is authentic. But beware here, I am not saying that this hadith isn't authentic. I am saying that the passage that says that Khawla was the aunt of the Prophet, I am saying that this passage isn't authentic. But do I have a proof here? Yes, I do have it. First of all, know that the Quran openly and explicitly forbids on a Muslim man to marry his aunt. Quran chapter 4 verse 23. Forbidden unto you are your mothers and your daughters and your sisters and your father's sisters and your mother's sisters. Secondly, what did Aisha say when Khawla came and offered herself for marriage to the Prophet? If really Khawla was the aunt of the Prophet, do you think that Aisha would have said, doesn't a lady feel ashamed for presenting herself to a man? Or would she have said, doesn't an aunt feel ashamed for presenting herself to her nephew for marriage? Just tell me, which one of the two has priority? If the fact that a woman offers herself for marriage to a man, this fact wasn't liked by Aisha, how would have Aisha then reacted? How would she have reacted if an aunt offered herself for her nephew, to her nephew for marriage? Why did Aisha make use of this opportunity and said, how can an aunt offer herself to her nephew for marriage, and the Quran openly prohibits? Why didn't she say that? Aisha didn't see anything bad with who was Khawla, but she only didn't like that a woman offers herself to a man for marriage. If the Quran explicitly forbids forbids that an aunt marries her nephew, how can the aunt of the Prophet, how can she come and tell him, marry me? The Prophet also had many enemies, the Jews, the pagans, and many others. If really the Prophet married his aunt, how would have the disbelievers then? Disbelievers, how would they have reacted? How would have the haters of Islam reacted if the Prophet married his aunt? The disbelievers would have found that as a golden chance to demolish this man. They would have talked a lot about it and spread it, but we didn't hear any disbeliever who spoke about this. Do you think that they didn't think of that? Do you think they would not have the intelligence that these Christian liars have in? Thirdly, the third reason why we as Muslims we don't believe in this passage is, in this narration there is a man named Ata al-Khurasani, and we as Muslims we know that this man had illusions and he mixes up things. We found this information in the science of Hadith. Thus we keep this passage of the Hadith not because we believe in it, but because this is how Ata al-Khurasani narrated it. So we keep it in the Islamic libraries, but we don't believe in that because we know who Ata al-Khurasani was. And if we really were afraid of this narration, we would have hidden this narration before that His Holiness, this Christian liar, comes and tells us about it and shows us how intelligent he is. Just want to tell you that Jesus Christ kissed Mary Magdalene on her lips according to the Gospel of Philip. You'll tell me, but the Gospel of Philip is a fake gospel. So I also tell you that this passage isn't authentic because we know who Ata al-Khurasani was. I also can come up with non-authentic Christian sources, such as the Gospel of Philip, where it is written Mary Magdalene. He loved Mary Magdalene, and he used to kiss her on her mouth, and he used to love her more than the other disciples. So do you make things lawful for you and unlawful for people? Just as when I tell you that the Gospel of Judas completely contradicts the Christian religion, but you tell me that the Gospel of Judas is a fake gospel, so I also tell you that this passage that you quoted is also not authentic. So do you want to make things lawful for you and unlawful for people? It doesn't lead anywhere to bring non-authentic references.